to today's webinar, Beacons 101, the what, the how, and why this is important now. My name is Mary Catherine McCary, and I'm the presenter today. I'll share with you why it's so important to know more about beacons and how they're transforming the customer experience. First, get started with this quote. I love this quote. In the face of change, we have three options: ignore it, grab it, or drive it. The question is, what do we do with beacons? You can't ignore it. By 2020, AI research predicts 30 billion beacons will be in use. So it leaves you two choices. You can grow with it or you can drive it. And I hope after today's session, you'll begin to see the impact of this technology and how you can improve the customer experience, no matter the industry that you're in or the set that you're bringing to market. This really is an opportunity for you to own, drive, and delight customers in a dimension they've never experienced before. Talk about the agenda today. First and foremost, I want you to understand what location-based marketing is and how it relates to beacons, how beacons work and related technologies, because there's an application for everything and what is really the right technology for you. I'm going to share 6 different applications or use case scenarios just to start to get the light bulbs going in the organization as to how you can use the technology, and really the opportunities are endless. And lastly, budget. What it really takes to get started. So let's jump into location-based marketing. Location-based marketing, you need to think about it from the standpoint of 3 areas: people, places, and media. And there's been a convergence of these 3 particular areas, and this is what's so critical to location-based marketing, and it's that location-based element. So think of photos that you take, and today they are tagged by location, so you can search not only by location but by storm and other bits. Many of you refer to a weather app, and that web app sends you alerts that imminent weather is near. You may have a navigation app that'll tell you that you're so many miles or kilometers from your destination with an estimated time of arrival. Some are into gamification and augmented reality, and where convergence between the physical and the virtual is so important to that gaming experience. Others use fitness apps, either to monitor their activity or to get more involved in a broader community. In some instances, location plays a role. And it's very important as we talk more and more about beacons for you to think about location as the new cookie for both the physical world, the devices, and the media types. With this understanding, it's helpful then to talk about beacons. So what's in front of you are screen captures of 5 different beacons. So a lot of manufacturers out there, they come in many forms. These are the most common at the moment. They use Bluetooth such that it's low energy transmission of messages inside the messages. The range is from a couple inches up to 70 meters, and it's completely adjustable. It uses a low-powered battery. Some of the technology here, you cannot replace the battery. Some of the newer ones that are being developed, there's that opportunity to replace it. It comes in many form factors, and those form factors are getting smaller, all the way down to a sticker. But looking at what you can see in front of you, envision that this sits in the palm of your hand. Messaging perspective, what's really interesting is that communicates to a cell phone that you already own, and you can control the messaging one-to-many, and you can make that messaging absolutely relevant, real-time to today at this time and hyper-local to your environment. The cost is going down. It's $10 to $30 today, but I would expect that cut in half in about 6 months. And mobile manufacturers are significant. This is just a few of them that I'm mentioning here. How does it work? You start out by having downloaded an application, cell phone. The beacon transmits a signal. That signal launches the application on your phone, and now through the application, push content is delivered. And as I was mentioning before, it's relevant, very contextual in nature, very local. And we'll talk about this more specifically in terms of the applications. The other side of this is just the analytics are unbelievable in terms of having deeper behavioral analytics for marketers to be able to personalize the future conversations. And go into this in more detail as well. So I see here, the process is fairly simple and routine. And people ask me, well, that's nice, but how does this compare to NFC or RFID? We'll talk about that for a minute. I'm going to spend most of my time on the left-hand side of the page in column 2 for Bluetooth Low Energy, but we'll make the comparison across NFC and RFID. So look at access readers. For Bluetooth, the reason why beacons are so important is they work for all smartphones that have the latest Bluetooth technology. Versus the other solution sets either only work for one type of phone or you need a special reader altogether. The range is anywhere from a few inches to 70 meters, which is quite significant. That's over 130 feet. And it's adjustable, so it's not set in stone, and you don't have conflicts with other beacons in the area. Engagement, which is so interesting about Bluetooth, is it can be one-to-many, not one-to-one. I've mentioned that the information is highly personalized to the user at that time to be very engaging, based on frequency, time of day, and you'll see how that comes to life. The use cases today I'm going to talk about are around events and conferences, exhibit halls, retail outlets, how museums, stadiums, restaurants are using it, but really the sky's the limit. For those familiar with RFID, you're probably most familiar with it with its use for pets and the chips that are in pets to be able to find them if they get lost. But it's also used in your tolls, payment systems, and for tracking large-scale equipment. So here, the issue is not whether Bluetooth is right for you or not. The issue really is the applicability of what you're trying to accomplish and what really is the best technology solution for you. And I'm going to do a deeper dive today on Bluetooth technology. Application perspective. Today, on the left-hand side, I'm going to spend time first going through the world from an event management perspective, an exhibitor perspective, and an attendee perspective. I think it really helps marketers to understand the value of this technology and what can be harnessed. Additionally, from a consumer and a consumption perspective, evolving the attendee sees, consumer, we're going to talk about retail, and they're probably farthest along on this, how your experience could be changed at museums and stadiums as well as restaurants. So let's get in terms of event management. So now the last event, the user conference summit that you attended, and really similar to this picture, had to stay in line to register to get your name badge and your lanyard and the barcode associated so you could be scanned throughout the event. Well, imagine that no check-in would be required. And then instead, these little beacons would be put at the main entrances or the entrances at this particular event and notify the event management company that you have arrived and you've come into the exhibit hall. imagine that you have a virtual assistant, and as you're going through the exhibit hall, instead of needing to find signs in terms of a map and where you need to go, you have an interactive map that's on your cell phone. You don't have to carry around paper, or the passport books for stamps. You're moving throughout the event. The beacons are capturing your activity and behavior, and for every location and nation you've been to, you get an online stamp. Additionally, there's opportunity to push content. Don't miss the keynote. You can push session content. So instead of the attendees having to ask, would you like the presentation, or I'd like a copy of your presentation, you just get pushed to you and download it as appropriate. You can put alerts, speaker bios. You can push logistics for the cocktail hour, you name it. Some management companies would like to see their events become more and more viral, and they'd like to integrate social media. And so this is something that's being built in, but you can really make this experience very contextualized, all the way down to you have left the session being pushed, the survey, to get immediate on digital feedback. And as I mentioned before, you're getting tracking information as each person comes in contact with the different beacons you have throughout the event. And now you've got behavioral data to see what elements of your event were truly a draw and were less so. Did people put in time in the visitor center, or were they walking around to the booth? Does that drive your future strategy to say, if I'm at the visitor center, more and more people want networking opportunities and less in terms of some of the sponsors? Or does it say that I need a particular sponsor for next year because everybody went to that particular So the possibilities here are endless, but it gives you an idea on the intelligence of this application. Now let's look at it from an exhibitor or a sponsor perspective. So imagine that there are beacons through this trade booth, strategically placed near demo stations, near theaters, at the entrance, to provide some level of navigation and interaction with the attendees that are walking in the booth. So it's a more interactive experience. You can control consistency in messaging across the board. You can push educational content where people want to interact with some of the folks that are working in the booth or on the sales floor. You can push educational content. So they're interested in a particular demo, push content associated with the research, the roadmap, the features, the comparison report, the data sheet, the case studies associated with it. You sponsor messaging. You can tie contests to this particular app, retweets, and gaining some momentum as a sponsor or exhibitor, and pushing our content. This is cross-sell, upsell information, competitive comparisons. It helps you with personalization and lead nurture moving forward, and you get, again, more analytics than you just scanned a badge. You can see how people interacted with your booth, with your staff, with your content to help drive evolution and change in your strategy moving forward to continue to develop deeper engagement. Now let's talk about it from an attendee perspective. How does this technology really provide context? So as I had mentioned before, imagine not having to stand in line, and you have this technology that allows you to have a digital check-in. Another way of looking at this is at the LPGA Tour last year, as people arrived to the event, many people were coming in from one gate. That gate had a large queue. Yet there were other gates that didn't have a queue at all. So a message was sent out that told people that the south gate didn't have a queue, but the main gate did. And that relevant content allowed the traffic patterns to start to change. Now imagine the discussion people had, the fact that one, they didn't have to queue, it was like having a virtual assistant. Two, the fact that they weren't exactly sure what this app would do and the value add it already provided, and they only just walked into the event. So conversations that took place in thereafter through the day was something very different, because they're a concierge-like experience, a white glove experience, all through their favorite device that they carry everywhere with them, which is a cell phone. So it provides a lot of value both intrinsically and extrinsically. Additionally, you've got elements such as My Agenda that can customize and on your cell phone instead of printing these things out from a website. As walking from one room to the next room for each one of these sessions, as walking by, new content is pushed to you so you understand what is happening in that room at the exact time. Who's the speaker? Are you interested in that content or something else? Imagine sitting in a room and selecting a session, to us all, and then you decide, gosh, you know, I know this already, so I can see where this presentation is going. I'm going to go someplace else instead. You get up and you're kind of flipping through, trying to figure out where else to go. Well, now you just get up, walk with your cell phone down the hall, and as you're passing each one of these rooms, you're getting up-to-date information to decide which is the more appropriate session to go to. So it's highly personalized, highly contextual, highly relevant at that point in time, which is so exciting. The technology is really allowing us to add dimensions of experience to our brands. So now let's take a look at it from a retail perspective. Now, one of the most common retailers using this today is Urban Outfitters. They have really developed a very contextual, relevant experience and building loyalists through this technology. And here, what's making the difference is putting it into context. So you walk into the store and have strategically placed beacons. Some beacons are in departments, some are on products. And as you're navigating through the store, they're putting information to you as it's relevant. So standing over shoes, you're really looking at a hiking shoe. You spend some time with it. They put some general information about that hiking shoe that might be important to you to help you make a better decision. You go even longer, they provide you a spot promotion. So maybe if they draw the price by 10-15%, you'd be more apt to buy it today. Now, Outfitters in particular is promoting people taking selfies, and they are trying on these new outfits in the changing room. And so these things are being pushed through social media, and they have the opportunity to win a discount for some clothing. But now all of those people in their community are seeing that they're shopping at Urban Outfitters and seeing that they look really good in some of these outfits that they're trying on, which is building momentum in terms of future customers, as well as that you can get immediate response through social media where people say, love the outfit, don't like the outfit, must buy it, you name it. Now, think of even larger retailers that have multiple departments, maybe even several store floors, and if somebody's checking out, they remind you, don't forget to stop downstairs at the big shoe sale that we're having. Or some of these retailers are providing the ability to pay through the app so that they're getting very contextual information about purchase behavior. They're able to track analytics and build a series of cases and lead nurture in terms of what your next set of behaviors are. They can reward you as you take follow-on behaviors from this as well. This is absolutely phenomenal if you think about this in terms of changing the world for which we live in. Now, it's important to note that the idea here is that we will all have applications from a retail perspective. Only for the retailers we have loyalty cards or have built relationships with today. So we're not going to have hundreds of these apps on our own. We're just going to have the ones that provide the most value and relevancy to each one of us. So that's important to keep in mind, because when you go to a mall, the last thing you would want this beacon technology to provide is that it is driving 30 promotions to your phone across all of these different retailers. Instead, each retailer's app should be pushing information to you only if you walk into the store or near the store to get that relevant information. And imagine if you could determine in what context you got that information. So you get more messages or less messages, or you have to be deep in the store before you get the messages. It's really all at the user's control. Museums and stadiums. This is really quite fun. You think about a richer engagement at a museum. Now, you may buy the headsets and walk around with the DVD. There are many people that don't. One, because their experience isn't as linear as the communications and the dialogue on that DVD. Two, they're not exactly sure what they're truly going to want to act and get deeper, richer information about. And they then view that it's going to be fairly infrequent and don't download it. Now, this technology allows all of us to have a very different experience. So as you're walking through the museum, the bins trigger the opportunity for you to have a more deep, richer engagement about that particular artist, their collection, their philosophy, who they painted with, you name it. And for the areas that you're interested in, you can do a deep dive. And for the ones that you're not, you don't. Now, take that a few steps further in terms of a stamp and to see a sports game. All the times that there's a pause for the referee calling a timeout, you have advertising that needs to be shared on TV, and so you have to wait. Well, during those at different times, you can have a richer experience by setting up games and some things that can happen within the stadium, even to the seat number, and have quite a bit of fun with that. And the experience at the stadium would be much different. Imagine you're getting up to go get some food, and as you're walking by some historical elements in the stadium, it puts that information to you. You're walking by a food stand, and it's the sixth inning of a baseball game, that it starts pushing buy 2 hot dogs for the price of 1 as they're trying to put their product before the end of the game. So the opportunity to provide a much richer, deeper, more engaging experience. Now, those people that show up frequently at the museum or at the stadium, you can really build a loyalty program. Or reverse can happen. If you're traveling and you know that this person lives in the East Coast, but they're actually out at the West Coast at a museum, you can trigger to have them download the app for the museum experience, but then as they're walking out, they could ask, would you like to this deleted? As a result, you have the ability to provide a very contextual, very relevant, very engaging experience that is much more amazing than any of us can imagine today, because we don't have this dimension. This is what beacons and mobile devices are letting us do. Now, take it a step further as we think about restaurants and what the world could like. And in particular, think about the restaurant that you go to most frequently. So maybe you weren't planning to go out to eat, or you're planning to go to a different restaurant first, but as walking by, a beacon triggers promotion, or to ask you if you're coming to dinner and are you going to order your typical menu item. Or to a new restaurant, could ask you some questions, and as you're waiting for your table, you could be pushed educational information, whether it's how a beverage was made, such as the wine, how the chef is making a particular meal or what his signature meal is, and all the ingredients that go into that. For during behavior, the next time you come, 20% off, tell some of your friends and use promo code and they get something as well. You do payments through this, and you can certainly start tracking a lot more behavior in terms of what's happening and how to get people back into your facility. So as you can see, these are a lot of different use cases that demonstrate the possibility of Beacon mobile devices, but I've really just scratched the surface here. But the next piece that makes contextual relevant is that you take this information and you do something with it and build on top of it, where a lot of companies could go wrong. It's critical to integrate the information that you're learning from the beacons into your different systems. I mentioned just a few here in terms of your CRM and marketing automation, proprietary databases, social media, you name it, to be building on that next set of decisions because you've got the behavioral information that helps make the next set of communications so relevant. And whether it's marketing having that conversation, customer service, sales rep, it's important that everybody's building off of that set of information to ensure that they truly are deepening that customer experience and building off of it to really wow that customer. Now, I promised you I'd give you an idea of how this all comes together, and as you're thinking about budgets and potentially piloting something in the future, what does this look like? So when we think about it, it's really two parts to this convergence. One is the hardware, that is the beacons, the cost of how many beacons you end up using. And then two is the software, the mobile app. And if it's something that is fairly basic and complex that you want developed, think of your weather app. Well, it's not very complex, and you're about in the orders of $5,000. If something much more complex requires a lot of integration across systems, requires time to develop, in general, it's going to be much more expensive. And you'd be in the orders of could be up to $50,000. But then this should be something that you own and kind of own for life. It shouldn't be based on one use. You should be able to own the app and apply it to subsequent areas as well. So this is a general rule of thumb from a budgeting perspective. Before we get going, it's really important to take note of a couple elements on where you draw the line between creepy versus value add. And think about people in your organization. It's also going to be critical to educate them. I hear a lot of naysayers that are like, there's a limitation on how many apps are the apps, and people aren't going to download apps. Well, you've got to help educate your organization in terms of mobile devices are here to stay. We're all carrying them in and out of the office to begin with. We don't separate with them. And 50 billion mobile apps were downloaded in the last year since the last Google operating system update. Let me repeat that, 50 billion apps. So people have no problem downloading apps. And do you remember when we all said with online shopping that the internet shopping world wasn't going to take off because we weren't going to enter in our credit card? And now just iTunes alone has 800 million credit cards on file. So this technology has truly taken off. Now, push messaging is too much. I caution you to pilot this and make sure it provides value add. Is it 2? Is it 3? Is it 5 times a day, a week, a month? The elements that it's going to be critical that you pilot and go slowly. Too aggressive will get somebody to delete your app, and you certainly don't want that to happen. Now, other people have asked me, well, what does it take in terms of incentives to drive people to download the app? I would tell you, if you get them at the time of an event registration, we provide them some small incentive. That's all it takes. CVS alone provided $3 in reward bucks to get 10 million mobile users not only to download their app, but enter in highly personal healthcare data for $3 reward bucks. So it doesn't have to cost your marketing budget. You can get very creative in terms of the value that's provided back. But I'm going to tell you, the more people that get this right in terms of the value add that's being provided, we're all going to be running to download apps because we're going to want that white glove experience. It's critical, though, to understand that brands cannot operate alone. They've got to be integrated with your marketing mix. It's really easy to deliver a brand promise that provides a competitive advantage if done well, but we all know the downside of this is if you provide a very creepy experience where you're sharing that you know too much information about somebody, you're certainly going to drive away customers, and you're going to drive away those customers for good. So as you're building your business cases, as you have questions about applicability, my email address is along the bottom of the PowerPoint chart, and I just, for those people that don't know Digital Wavefront, I'm happy to help in other regards as well. We're really known as the 3Ds, digital development, data integration, and data analytics. But in terms of beacons and how I can help, send an email, and I'm happy to share knowledge. Thank you today for your time. And to note some upcoming webinars that we've got scheduled off of our resources event page. We've got one on Friday about predicting customer engagement with a tool we've developed called Octopus, talking about mobile design and the key considerations for meaningful customer experience. Next week, a weekly beacon presentation similar to this one will be on the 30th, and then I'm doing a deep dive on events, exhibit halls, and trade show booths. So if you know anybody in your organization that's interested in any of these areas, please share this information with them. Thank you very much. Have a good day.